Hi guys, my name is Fung and welcome to my video. In this video, I'm going to explain what and how my Android apps are going to work. So here is the app. My app name called Quiz Time. So we are going to enter into the app right now. So click on the app. At first, it will give you a splash and some animation. Of course, with an image. Then it will jump it to another activity. In this activity will be the main activity. You have a button and some welcome words, start quiz as student now, and of course some image. So once we press the button, begin button, it will take us to the category of quiz. Press it. As you can see, there is like different kind of category quizzes inside. So we have English, Malay, Math, Science, and Geography, and of course, in furthermore, we'll be adding more and more. All of these quiz category are from Firebase. So, of course, each of the category have different kind of sets. For example, if I click on Science category, it will show up only have 3 category of question. Again, if I go to English, it will only show that the set of question here from what I have set into the Firebase. So right now I'm going to do one of the question inside of the English test. So I'm choosing set 1. So here's the quiz. We have a timer and we have the number of the questions show up here, and then of course the question, and lastly the button of which the student choose. So of course, once the timer ends, it will automatically jump to that. So for example, I will be choosing one question. If it's correct, it will show you the green. So the next question, so I want to show you the wrong one. So what if I choose the wrong one? I choose truth. It will show the correct answer. So now I'm going to show you that what will happen if I have completed all of the question. So give you a minute. So once we have completed all of the question, it will send out the congratulation and then a trophy and image, and then it will show you the total score of that. So once you are finished it, just click done and it will bring you to the begin page. So click done and here's it. So you can do as much as quiz as possible as you want. Next section, I'm going to talk about for the splash activity, which is when the user click on the app, it will jump out an image and then the text view with some animation. Here is the XML file that I created with some of the like layout, everything. So what I'm talking about is the code. Yeah, I've declared some of the variable, which is text view, and then list string and Firebase, which will be used later. And then here in this session, I'm going to have like assign the ID and then the of course the file source. So the main part of the animation is right here, which is I have a create an animation variable called add_name, and then it will load the animation, which is I have like called which I have created as a pause. So which is here I've created the everything that must be do with the animation. So what I have to do right now is just set the animation add_name. So and for this part, which is thread, because I wanted to like let it run like simultaneously. So I will let the app like run during the runtime. I'll let it sleep for 2 seconds because it will be like showing in 2 milliseconds. And then once it sleeps, so and then some of the error section and then load data. And then once load data, which is means that I'll be loading the entire file store, the data, which is I have like put it inside the file store and then it will load because it requires some time. And then once it's done, it start. In this section, I'm going to talk about for the main activity. After the splash activity, so it will immediately jump to the main activity, which is after the animation. So here is the XML file for the main activity with a like text view and a button. So let's look at the code. So basically, it's very simple. Usually, it's like a button with the assign with the ID inside. So we set the button on click listener and intent to the next activity, which is the set category quiz. In this section, I'm going to tell you about the create category of the quiz. So in my create category of quiz, I have set it in the grid view, and there's like two columns here. So each of the quiz category will be listed out here. And then there's of course also set the background here, and then also give it an ID. So let's look at the code. So it's very simple. That means the private variables here, and then submit to the ID as a variables and then the ID, and then set the adapter, and then start the adapter. So let's have a look. In here, we have like, of course, a string which is to get all of the information and the question inside, including the answer and the option. And then this is the constructor and then the getter. So from the view, so which is like, all right, to tell, I mean, all right, so which is me, this is to tell the development kit that if you're unable to find or it doesn't have that, the view, you have to search it from here. So which is mean the layout inflator. If you have it, then it will straight away like put it inside. And then on the click center, since the user clicked the category, so we were going to intend into the question activity that the user intent. And then of course this is the view which is like the getting all the information from the list, which is from the list here. Yep. And then from this side is the actually is like a color. So normal when the background of the color of the category of the quiz, it will change it automatically when the user visit it again, of course, and then set the view. In this section, I'm going to talk about the set question. After the user have clicked on the category, so there's a few set of questions showing out in the grid view. I have set it in the grid view, which is a 3-column here. And then for the layout will be like very simple for user to notice, which is like a round one, and then the drawable resources here. So here, let's look at the code. The code is very simple. As you can see, the grid view, I've declared grid view here, and then there's like and then implemented the ID set green for the ID, and then also for the category ID, this function is meaning that I'm getting the intent activity from other classes, and then I will save it inside here, and then of course for file store, and then load set is the new function. Actually, load set for the load set, the file is like getting the resource from the file store, and then some sort of the verification. If it's have it, then get the result. If it's not, then we have to check whether it's get it one by one to from the Firebase. And then once we get it, we straight immediately set it into the grid adapter, which is here. In this section, I'm going to talk about the question. So as you can see, I have used like a linear layout here. So you have two layout, and then there's a timer like XML here. So everything have been assigned here with the ID, and then all of is like own variable. Yep. And then before we go to and then we are going to the code. So in the code part, mostly here, all of it will be the variable part. And then variable part, and then of course we will also assign in here. Alright, so for the button click listener, I've set it into a view on click listener, which is like this. We doesn't need to like set it one by one, so we will know that button one on click listener, this will be an on click listener. So whatever we want to click it, there will be something click it. And then before I go into much more deeper, here is the question adapter. So I name it as a question. So you will guess you will say like as a question you can get it, and then this is the constructor. Yeah. All right. Back to the quiz activity. So first of all, we have to make sure that we have the function which is called get question, because we need to fetch it from the Firebase. So it will need some code and then some time. So here's the code which is going to collect the question, which is also all of the question answer from the Firebases, and then we also add it into the question list, which is will be here, and then docstring, and then I mean for the document string, we will explain in another section, and then here is to like the like error and also set question. In the set question, there's like because we also have a timer, which is I'll also be like explaining later one by one, and then we also will be setting text to the here. We'll be setting text to here as well, because because array start from 0, so we'll be like having +1. Yep, and then we'll be having a start timer. So here is the function for the start timer. So we have a new timer called countdown, and then we also have a variable upstairs which is like countdown timer. And then we also we will be setting, because I mean we'll be setting 1.2 because that like yeah, because we have like 10, we give the user as a 10 seconds, but now we show it as a millisecond. So yeah, it's like a question timer. So once the user have clicked the quiz, so the timer will be like started in theory. And then when it's on finish, which is that when the timer has end, it will change question. It is also a function. So let's go down a bit. So yeah, on click. So in this section, once the user have clicked on the button, which is the button here, any of it, so it will because I will like using a switch case. So for me case RID the button 1, so option 1, so which will be selecting the hold the value, and then for what, so because it will be much more easier for us to check answer. Yeah, so basically this part is mostly for let the user to select, and then we hold the value so we can check the answer, and then of course the countdown timer will be cancelled. So here is the check answer part, because that as we have set all of the question in from our Firebase, including the answer as well. So we'll be checking one by one. So if the user have like select the question correct in the first time, so it will score, it will be plus plus, and then it will show the green. This is a sorry for this. This is some like version problems, but I already solved it. And then what if the user doesn't get correct answer in the first place? So we'll be checking one by one. If it's not, it will be red. Then we'll be going to switch and then show the user which one is the true, according to the Firebases. And then of course, once the user have like answered the question, it will be, and then I will also like do a post delay at here will be like 2 seconds. Then it will change the next question, which is here change question. The change question will be like, yep, as you can see, is a button 1, 2, 3. Because this is like once the user have answered question, it will be changed, and then according to the Firebase here, the Firebase that we achieve inside the array list, and then it will like follow it one by one. And then of course it also has the intent into the, and then once the array, once the not array sorry is the once the whole thing, the question has been set, finished, it will straight away intent to the score activity. Yep. And then this is like a play animation, which is like for example here we have like animation here, so wherever the user have select question or done question, it will be like do some animation here. In this section, I'm going to talk about the score, which is also the last activity. So here will be the last activity here. And then you can see I'm using the linear layout. And then there will be like image, like name, and then the total score here. And then there's also a button. So let's go to the score activity. Yep. As always, I also like I refer also a variable and then with the ID inside here. For the score part, because in the question activity, which is here, I've like put it extra, which is that once the user has scored, then we will like calculate the score of the user have clicked the correct answer, and then we will pass it into the intent I, and then it will immediately start the activity I. So which is means that in this score activity, we will be getting the information of by get the intent. So by getting the information, we can set the text of the score. which is no matter how many which will be the question that the user corrected will be shown at here. And for the lastly, for the click button, so the it's very simple, which is will be intent to the main activity. So once the user have clicked the done button, it will immediately show it or bring it to the main activity, which is here. So with this repetition, the user can do as much as quick as they like and can be repeated as much as they want.